Hello and welcome to the Cloud Council. Today, we're going to be talking about how to drive radical innovation through entrepreneurship. And I'm delighted to be joined by David Graham, co-founder of Diplomatic Rebels and former head of Lego Ventures. So earlier we talked about a crisis being sometimes a trigger for innovation, but as you said, don't wait for the crisis. Well, we're in a crisis. So from your perspective, how can an organization and its leadership team use their brand values and business purpose to drive innovation, particularly in a crisis?
I would say, having a clear take on your brand values and the purpose that the company is pursuing. So the mission, but the mission that is purposeful. What is it that we are trying to create that will change the world, that will create better lives for our customers and consumers? Having that clearly articulated is an absolutely key foundational point for delivering especially radical innovation. And it sets the foundation for your innovation strategy. Because if you don't know, what your values are, what you're good at, and where it is you want to go, you will be working, in blind and basically doing random stuff, more or less trying to boil the ocean with the stuff that you're doing. So the more clear you are about that, the stronger you will stand, both when doing radical innovation, but especially also in a time of crisis. Mm-hmm. Because that is when you need to know what is it that we should stick with, what is it that we want to see continue, and what are the stuff that we need to explore and change in this time of crisis. So what I've seen many times is when innovation teams fail, when corporate venture arms fail, is often when they don't have a strong enough foundation. When the company and the leaders in the organization don't really know where is it that we want to go, and what is the foundation that we are currently standing on that we want to leverage into this new future. Understanding your core capabilities, understanding, you can say, the core DNA of the cultural fibers of your existing company that you want to continue to see thrive in the future, while adding new elements to it. And having a clear purpose is also important if you want to drive empowerment and sense of ownership with your teams, as we discussed before. Because as a leader, this means letting go of some of the control. Not micromanaging, not controlling in the same manner that companies used to do in the past. And it can be quite terrifying, to be honest, for most leaders, because how do you then lead? How do you control? So I believe the role of the entrepreneurial leader in the future is really to be a storyteller, is to be someone who's excellent at articulating the vision for the innovation that you want to do, and articulate the brand values and that business purpose that is driving all the activities across the ecosystem. Because when you're good at that, that will create followership. Then you will have people following, and then you can let go of control, because people will follow and people will understand what is the right direction that we're moving in. So for that same reason, what Lego did after its major crisis in 2003 that almost killed the company was to articulate a very clear purpose and vision for the future that they were pursuing, which of course for Lego is about inspiring and developing the builders of tomorrow, which means creating creative ability and confidence with future generations of users. And that's a very strong purpose, because now it means that every innovation activity will constantly ask itself, how is this delivering creative confidence and ability with future generations of users? And if it's not, then it's not relevant for us. Then we are not pursuing the right things.
And David, thank you. That's great insight. And as you're sort of, as you say, bringing out the values and the purpose and using that to storytell as an entrepreneurial leader, and as we're now in this very much distributed and remote workforce, probably in the past, one of the ways you do that is with physical town halls and creating great, entrepreneurial workspaces. now we're in this different world. You know, how do you do that remotely, digitally? I see up on the wall there, you got your guitar on the wall. You know, how do you see that playing out in this very much new norm that we're now in?
It only undermines the necessity for having a mission which is purposeful, and purposeful in a sense where it makes meaning and sense for all the employees. Each employee should be able to relate to that mission and purpose and say, that is why I work in this company. That is why I sit here and work, because I want to see this happen as well. And I often hear from companies saying, well, what we're doing is not, you know, is not something that's very easy to make into a passionate purpose for the world. I actually honestly don't believe that is true. And I've seen companies recently that has transformed from doing something that very few people would care about to all of a sudden saying, well, actually, we can articulate this in a way where everybody will care about it. Now, one example is the world's biggest manufacturer of pumps. And basically, they've made all the pumps that are running in buildings and in the industry. And nobody really care about pumps. You don't see the pumps. They're just there. They're doing the job. You only look at them when they don't work. But they realized that what they were really good at was transferring and processing water. And then they said, you know, what we really should be good at is providing clean water to the world. And so they changed their mission from saying, you know, we want to make excellent pumps, to saying we want to provide clean water to, you know, the entire world. And all of a sudden you have a company now that, from having difficulty attracting and retaining talent because, you know, it wasn't really interesting to do pumps, they are like being overrun with people that want to be part of that journey of providing clean water to the world. And so my challenge to any company is saying, you know, when you talk about your purpose, forget about your current products and services. Think about what is it that you're really good at and how can you articulate that into a story that's about transforming the world as it is today. And coming back to your question about how do you lead remotely, if you have a purpose that's this strong, you don't need to stand in front of your employees every second day and telling them, please work harder. They will be so passionate about what they're doing. And as you're empowering them with autonomy, it doesn't matter whether they're sitting at home, whether they're sitting on a cafe or at the workplace. And, you know, to be a little provocative, I would say that the future headquarters of companies will not be places where people work. They will work, you know, at home. They will work from other locations around the world. What they should become is more like, you know, what captures the essence of what the brand values and the purpose of that company is. That means you invite your employees to come to the headquarters to get an experience rather to sit and work. So that, I believe, we will transform headquarters in the future from being these long rows of desks to rather becoming experience centers of the purpose and the mission and the values of the brand that you have. And we're already seeing that, like a company like Lego, you know, the headquarters now is more like an experience center. If you're going, that's why fans are paying a lot of money to come and visit the headquarters, because it is an experience. And when you leave, you're like, wow, you know, this is not a company. This is something that's going to transform the world. And that is what you want to see, I think, in future companies.
Yeah, it's like a retailer's destination store, isn't it? It's just giving that full immersion. Thank you very much again, David, for your fantastic insight today. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.